just left the Route 59 cafe there. Got a bit of a road safety partnership collaboration affair going on between what looks like, well, very obviously is the fire service and the police. Quite brave of the police. I don't think it'll be the most popular public service sometimes at a place like this, because the A59 itself, of course, is notorious for its road casualty statistics, and understandably as a consequence of that attracts a lot of attention from the police. But I would simply observe, and I hope I'm not tempting Providence, that if you don't expect speed cameras to be in operation on the A59, then you need to give your head a wobble. Right, so welcome back to the channel. Here I am aboard the mighty Honda ST1300 Pan-European. This absolutely mint, almost 20-year-old, and just gone over 12,000 miles. What a beauty. So let's have a ride to Pateley Bridge, and I just really want to take this opportunity, number one, to express my undying gratitude to all of my wonderful subscribers, now numbering in excess of 2,500. And yes, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go down the outside there, but I'm jabbering away at you, so let's not do too much multitasking. Yeah, so thank you to everybody who has subscribed. It makes a massive difference to what I'm able to do in terms of content on this channel. Right, so yeah, Pateley Bridge. On a sunny Easter bank holiday weekend. So yeah, if you go over that bridge there, that's over the River Nid. If you go over the bridge there and turn right down the side of the filling station, that's Lower Wath Road, and that's the road that takes you to Howstein Gorge and Howstein Gorge Cafe, which I've mentioned before, and which I absolutely highly recommend to you. It's a cafe partially on stilts overlooking a 50-60 foot drop down a gorge with a beck running through at the bottom, and it's unique, really. Something a bit different if you're looking for a decent cafe. It's not a biker cafe per se, but it is a cafe frequented by bikers, and absolutely well worth a visit. It's got a glass bottom floor, so if you're brave enough you can stand on it and look down into the gorge. So yeah, just over that bridge over there and hang a right. I'll show you on this here map. Where are we now? So we're here in the car park. So you go over the bridge over there, which is here. There's the River Nid. Over that bridge there, and then turn right. This is the filling station here, and this here is Lower Wath Road. And you just follow that all the way. It takes you on the banks of Gowthwaite Reservoir. That's off the map. And about 20 minutes riding, you'll come to a little village called Lofthouse. There's a little pub in Lofthouse called the Crown, and if you turn right just after there, there's a fantastic ride right over the tops, stunning views, and then you drop down into Leighton Reservoir, and then to Massam, which is another very popular biker spot. Or you can turn left and go to Middleham, of castle and racehorse fame, and from there either onto Kettlewell or onto Hawes in Wensleydale. So yeah, Pateley Bridge. Get yourself down here. Right. I'll get it. Yeah, R9T. You used to have one of those. Didn't really get on with it. Anyway, that's another story. I do watch Stuart Fillingham. He can be a cantankerous old knacker, can't he, sometimes. I think on his own admission. He's like me, typical Yorkshireman. And yeah, he's got a couple of Royal Enfields and some Triumphs, and very much a modern classic theme to his channel, but quite a current affairs theme on his channel as well. Does an awful lot of research, the Stuart, from what I can gather, which we all benefit from. Things like 15-minute cities and ULEZ zones, and you know, the wider environmental debate and its attendant restrictions and proposed restrictions on our freedoms. And his arguments for the most part seem rooted in verifiable fact. I mean, anybody can bellyache on about what they do or do not believe in, but at least Stuart goes to the effort of researching what he's going to talk about, and present you with a few facts that you can check up for yourself, which is good. Not everybody does that, not even me. I can be quite opinionated on some things. You might be surprised to hear that as a retired police officer with 30 years operational service at a reasonably senior level, that I'm pretty anti-establishment. Thank you. I'm pretty anti-establishment, but with good reason. I've seen how it works in the real world for 30 years. It's not what you think. You think that some of these high, mighty and powerful people in national and local government, and for that matter in statutory bodies like the police, are 100% behind the best interests of the public at large? And it ain't always the case, let me tell you. I am sad to say. Right, but maybe that's for another day. Maybe for another one of them in-car podcasts. Only trouble is, half the stuff I could tell you about 30 years of coppering, you won't believe. But it's all too true. Any road up. Here we are coming out of Pateley Bridge. We're on the other side of the Nid Valley now, on our way to a little village called Summer Bridge, which is like a leap back in time. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know I'm very big on nostalgia. I have really, really warm, nostalgic feelings every time I think back to how things were in the 60s and 70s when I were a kiddie growing up. And of course my parents had me quite late in life. My dad was 50, my mum were 40 odd, and of course they both served in the Second World War. My father was a corporal engineer in the Royal Air Force, and he kept all the aircraft running, and he served in the Far East as part of Mountbatten's Forgotten Army, if you will, and he got the Burma Star, but he never ever bragged about it. Very humble, unassuming man that went through God knows what sort of hell for 5 years or more, and came back and just wanted to get on with a quiet and dignified life, which by and large until I came along by and large he managed to do. Anyway, I digress. How did I get onto that subject? It's terrible, isn't it, when you wander off your subject and you have to backtrack, try and find out where you started. I was talking about Stuart Fillingham, wasn't I? Stuart Fillingham, climate, and he served some time as a copper as well, didn't he? Right, so anyway, yeah, so give him his due. He does do some fairly detailed research in support of his content. But I always have a lyre. I'm taking piss out of you, Stuart, in a friendly way, as a fellow Yorkshireman and a fellow former police officer, because I'm like this myself. But I have to laugh. Like some of the stuff you come out with, like anybody that wants a big engine motorcycle has got a small gentleman sausage. This is a fella that's had what, 6-7 R1200 GS's. Must be hung like a dormouse. And then what's the other one? Oh, I've been so busy that things just haven't gone right this week. There's been this and there's been that, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to use some B-roll. But hell, 70% of your entire content's B-roll. I don't know, but I'll give him his due. I don't mind if he's using the same old footage time and time again. Must have seen that shot of him riding Interceptor or Classic or whatever through West Whitton and up round there, around Wensleydale. I mean, I know that's my stomping ground. I know that area like back of my hand. I must have seen that same footage on bloody God knows how many videos that he just voices over. But I don't mind, because the voiceovers are usually about legitimate subjects. And oh, that's how we got on to yeah, talking about my old man and what have you. Basically talking about the malign intention of some elements of the establishment, and what the likes of Stuart Fillingham does to make that more transparent, and to invite you to think critically and objectively about things, rather than just accepting what some bloke in a suit tells you on the TV. Because in my experience, at least 50% of that's just going to be plain wrong. Anyway, and yeah, that's probably for a podcast as well. Alright, so yeah, I like Stuart's channel. Again, honest, down to earth, no pretense. What you see is what you get, and if he thinks you're a bell end, he'll tell you, and he does. I love this bike. It's a proper turbine engine, is this? I've always said that V4 engines are the perfect... I see compromise is the wrong word really, because compromise implies something that's suboptimal, something that's less than it should be in some respects. Not compromise, but I think it's the best aggregation. I'm going to get slagged for using big words again, but I can't think of another one, and it is the English language. The best aggregation between the smooth turbine-like performance of an inline 4 and the character of a parallel or V-twin, and it gives you the best of both worlds without necessarily giving you the worst of either, if that makes sense. So this is Summer Bridge here, and apart from those new houses there, just look at that. You can go back several decades, and this oldie worldly J. Todd and Son old petrol station come hardware store. You can buy all sorts there, from a new ball cock for your toilet to a packet of skins for the weekend. All there on your doorstep. Tell you what, it reminds me of Camberwick Green. They ought to call this Camberwick Green, Summer Bridge. Where's Windy Miller? I used to work with a cop called Windy Miller, but he acquired that name for a completely different reason, to mill in flour. Oh dear. Yeah, we're like Uncle Stu. He's alright. You've got to be able to take a lot of them. I mean, I come from 30 years of a culture where having the mickey taken out of you was just part of the course. It were, I suppose in many ways it was a coping mechanism for some of the less savoury things that you had to deal with. I used to get to the mickey taken out of you left, right and centre, and we used to parade on in Bradford City Centre. I started Bradford Central Division of West Yorkshire Police. That's where I started, and we used to turn out a load of cops now, but it won't be unusual on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night between two shifts to be turning out, you know, 25, 30, 35, sometimes 40 police officers. Absolutely unheard of now. You'd be lucky to get half a dozen for an area 4 times as big. But back then, priorities were way better aligned to the public need than they are now, which is aligned to the organisational need. But any road up, yeah, so taking mickey out of each other. Used to do it on parade, so you'd have a parade, say you were on 10-6 night shift, Bradford City Centre, Friday, Saturday night, and all you did was fight. All you did was fight and lock up drunks. And you'd go from fight to fight to fight all night long, starting with pubs, then to nightclubs, and then finally curry houses. Curry houses were normally the last place for a fight, and then after that, the tertiary element of that hierarchy, if you will, we didn't get to see, because we were a city centre only division with Bradford Central. Hardly any residential properties, hardly any. But of course the fourth element there would be domestics when folk got home, half cut, and it were the outer divisions that dealt with that. And they were a lot thinner on the ground than we were in the city centre, because of course city centre was a showpiece of policing, and so the number of cops thrown at the city centre was far in excess of what today could be justified by the demand, because all we ever dealt with were public order of a night and shoplifters during the day and the odd sort of traffic offence. You know, there were very few things like domestics and missing persons and all of that carry on that our colleagues in the outer divisions were dealing with. So they were thinner on the ground, and they had to learn to talk very quickly and to be diplomatic to get out of situations which were potentially life-threatening for the cops. Whereas in city centre we didn't. You know, you put a foot out of line, you got brayed and locked up. I speak figuratively, of course, but it were ruled with a rod of iron. You never stepped out of line back in certainly the early to mid 1980s in Bradford. If you looked at a copper wrong, you got locked up, and that was that, end of story. No argument, no ifs, no buts, and nobody complained because they expected it. They just spent a night in cells, sobered up, went before magistrates, put their hand up to being a bell end, and got fined and chucked out. And that were all well and good. But the poor cops out in the residential areas, they were a bit thin on the ground, and the backup in numbers weren't just around the corner like it was in the city centre. So they had much better diplomatic skills than we did. Good old days. Yeah, but we used to take Mickey out of each other left, right and centre, and on parade, Friday, Saturday night on parade, you know, there'd be plenty of banter. I mean, a lot of it to sort of relieve the churning stomachs, because you just didn't know what were around the corner. And it was something of an achievement to go home without any bruises or broken bones or worse after a weekend. So there quite a bit of banter on the parade, obviously before the sergeants and the inspector came in, at which point we all dutifully and respectfully stood up for the inspector as a mark of respect. And he, and they were all he back then, he would inspect us and make sure we were well turned out. Polished boots, handcuffed, staffs, pocketbook, everything present, radio. And it's what made us what we were, really. And it made us battle fit. That's what it did, it made us battle fit. It's because with no stab vests or pepper spray or side handle batons or asps back then, there were none of that. There were a 14-inch piece of lignum vitae, hardwood, your staff, and a pair of Mickey Mouse bracelets, handcuffs, and that were your lot. And the rest were your fists, really. That's what you had. But it was quite regimented, and all the better for it. But there were plenty of banter before Inspector came up. There was one rather portly lad on the team, I remember. He'll remain nameless, obviously, because, you know, for obvious reasons, but he came to work one night with a bit of a stinking attitude, which we all did from time to time, you know. When everybody else were going out on grass on a Saturday night and you had to go to work from 10 at night till 6 in the morning, you weren't always in the best of moods, to be fair. But this particular night, this lad came in, and he had a cob on. There were no two ways about it, bless him. And he made mistake of apparently what had happened is you had to cross a couple of main roads to get from the parking area in Bradford to the Nick at the old Turtles there. The main road past the Nick on one side was called Market Street, and they were walking across Market Street to work with this lad, this portly lad, good lad, nice lad. And anyway, he found himself nearly under the wheels of an oncoming car. I don't know if he'd not been paying attention or whatever, but he nearly got mowed down. And then to his horror, he sees that it's one of the other lads on shift on his way into work. So of course, when we all gets on parade, he makes a mistake, does this lad, because the lad driving the car were well known for his wit and repartee. So it's a bit of a schoolboy error for this lad, this portly officer, to proclaim openly in front of his 25-30 colleagues in parade room that what a tosspot this other lad was, because he nearly ran him over, and why did you nearly run me over? And of course Mr. Quick-witted just says, well, I didn't have enough petrol to drive around you.